Thank you so much, everybody, for having me here today. This is really truly an honor. When I'm running to be the Area 1 trustee for West Contra Costa Unified School District, my deep appreciation for the American public school system started in 1981. That's actually when my family decided to immigrate from the Philippines to America, because my parents said, if you get your diploma in America, no one can challenge it. So as a high school student, I attended John Swett Unified, and I'm very grateful. I was very grateful to actually get English as a second language classes, which helped me become more proficient in my English. More recently, as a preschooler, my eldest son here in West Contra Costa Unified was diagnosed with a learning disorder that led to an IEP, an individualized education plan. We got services. We got special day classes, occupational therapy, speech, social learning, and I am completely convinced that because of those special education programs, that actually changed the trajectory of his life. Our education system is in crisis. We have a $62 million budget deficit that's been forecasted. Of course, COVID-19 has changed our daily lives and the way we are doing school. These challenges have also highlighted many social inequities that we must address and we need to overcome. Still, we have to make sure that our focus remains our students. We have to make sure that our 32,000 students get the quality education that is their right. That is a responsibility of the district. Our current board is ineffective and full of emotional decisions in their process. I bring to the table 20 plus years of focused and deliberate experience in leadership. I hold a PMP and I'm ready to lead. Thank you.
Okay, actually, that was some of the answers for the first question that I'm going to ask you. So okay. You have to do it all over again.
Okay, certainly. Thank you very much.
Okay, Stella.
Before you start, we need to give Jamila Smith-Folds a chance for her introduction, and then you start the questions. Because you're going to do back and forth questions. So Jamila, can you have 2 minutes to do your introduction, and then we'll start the questions.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Jamila Smith-Folds. I'm running for West Contra Costa Unified School District School Board Trustee, Board 1. I've been in the field of education for over 15 years, from classroom teacher, parent volunteer, and community leader to school board trustee. I will work to ensure transparency and accountability to policies while ensuring programs are equitable, sustainable, and have built-in capacity for measured growth. I was born and raised in Alabama. School was the place where knowledge flowed like a river that everyone could drink from. My relationship with school led me to graduate from Auburn University, earning a double major in history and English with a credential to teach. As classroom teacher, I saw how important and intentional it was to create space for students and parents. Teaching in California and Alabama provided a clear awareness to me that my relationship with education was not everyone's experience. I know that it's not enough for schools to be a river. They have to be barrier-free, and they have to have containers for everyone to use. I'm a parent volunteer and who has navigated the educational system. I know what it's like to fight for our teachers and advocate for our students on the front line. Being a boots on the ground community leader means that I create and maintain relationships. I know as a school board member, I will set direction, provide support, and continue to advocate for our students. It's my authentic experience as a classroom teacher, a staunch and fierce parent volunteer and community leader, not to mention a parent of 3 school-age daughters, that motivate me to create consensus on the board and push for the desired outcome for our student success. Together, we will ensure that no student remains thirsty while standing under the waterfall of education. I'm asking for the opportunity to serve. Allow me to take your voice to the board. It's time for me and for us to stop making ripples by throwing stones and to start making waves by throwing these boulders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now I'm going to turn the questions over to our 2 league representatives, Naomi and Ann. And Naomi, you have the first questions.
Okay. How will you address the budget issues? And this is for Estella.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Naomi. So because of my experience as a project manager and having managed many multi-million-dollar projects. I'm very comfortable in managing and balancing budgets and working with many diverse and fully engaged, I hope, community members so that we can actually have stakeholders in front of us as we move forward in figuring out how we address the budget. I believe we need to start with process. We need to create outcomes that are going to be our clear beacon of goals in making sure that our young folks actually have their well-deserved education that we have promised them. We also owe our communities who are investing in our schools the kind of school system and education that prepares our young folks for college and career readiness. That's not happening as effectively as we want. And especially here in District 1, we're seeing a lot of gaps. So those two things are the first two things that I would like to make sure we address as we move forward. Thank you.
Okay, Jamila, how will you address the budget issues?
There are challenges to the budget, that's clear. What's not clear is how the district got here or how it will not stay here. As school board trustee, I come with a plan. My priorities are to continue to provide service for our students and families. I serve at the will of the people. It's the community, our collective community, that agrees that we must protect the integrity of the education. With my focus is going to be on the 32,197 students that we have in WCCUSD. They cannot suffer from the mis and gross mismanagement of the budget. The 90% of the budget that goes to people, those are my friends, my colleagues, my ex-colleagues, my neighbors. Those are the people who are dedicated their lives to serving these students. What I bring to the table is the practical, not theoretical understanding that giving CPR to a dead situation is a waste of time. We've got to talk to our labor and we've got to make hard decisions and a hard conversation. And I'm the school board member that will be able to do that because I formed those relationships. Thank you.
Okay, Estella, this question is for you first. How will you address the issues around equality, equity, equity?
Thank you. As an immigrant and a parent of a special needs student, it's important for me to make sure that we actually shine a light on all of these areas of inequity in our school system. It's been happening for a very long time, and systems like our school system protect itself. They're built to do that. I believe that what we need to do is engage and fully engage our communities to make sure that the conversations that need to happen, those hard conversations, will lead to actual agreement and outcomes so that we can actually change processes and follow our heart in the way we actually want to treat each of our students in an equitable way. Right now, many of our students are not seen. Their voices are not heard. It is important for us to make sure that our teachers, our administrators, and our staff actually have the type of perspective taking, if you will, that would make sure that each of our students are seen and are heard and are supported and loved in our school district. Thank you.
Okay. Jamila, how would you answer? How would you address the issues of equity?
Thank you. Equity is in my bones. I taught at Gompers Continuation High School in Richmond by choice. I chose to teach there. I chose to take those kids' voices not only to the board, but let their voices be heard in the classroom. I let them know that I choose you. As a mother with a daughter with an IEP, I know how important it is to make sure her voice is at the table. I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate for those who are historically marginalized in our school district. There's no longer an idea of an achievement gap. It's a chasm. So what I bring to the table is understanding how you work in the classroom. How do we get that information to all of our students? It's called scaffolding. We have to be able to hit every student at the level that they are and then be a motivator and an encourager to tell them where they need to go. I'm able to do that with the experience that I have as a teacher, as a mother, and as a motivator, as a coach. I've been the assistant coach at the middle school for years now. It takes a relationship building model to increase equity in student achievement.
Naomi, may I ask you to direct the next question?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Jamila, for the third question is, what would you do? What do you feel has been the issue around distant learning?
Thank you for that question. I think what's been the issue around distance learning is that we were in crisis learning. Since March 16th, it's been in crisis learning. The issue with distance learning is the trauma. We are sitting in trauma. These kids are sitting in trauma. And if we don't have high expectations and high support, we can't continue the learning process. What I want parents to understand, no one is asking you to be the teacher. We're asking you to be a great classroom aide. And I am built in able to help parents with that. I'm able to take that pressure off and help them be the classroom aide that they need to be to make sure that their child is still navigating the educational system. What I do as a homeschool teacher, I am a registered homeschool teacher. I have those transferable skills to help those parents who are texting me, who are calling me, and who are emailing me. I am helping navigate them through this system. It's something that we can do, but we have to work together to do it. And that's why I put up Jamila's teacher tips every Monday on all of my social media to give parents a chance to take a breath, take a pause, and let's walk this road together.
Okay. Estella, what would you do, or what do you feel have been the issue around distant learning?
So I appreciate very much that we have a one-per-one way of addressing the issues, very much the way that Jamila said. But we have a systems issues, and we are talking about 32,000 students with very differing experiences. What I have done is work very closely with students of families of students with high needs. And those families were struggling very much, especially in March. Things are getting a little better, but what we've got is not sustainable. So we need to do really two things. The first thing is make sure that we've got the right supports in place for our teachers, because their life, again, has been changed and they need to do so much more. The second thing, we need to do a better job right now with how we're engaging these young minds. Parents have told me that they're concerned that when teachers are not around, their students, in fact, are not paying attention. Though it's something that we can actually work on, especially with the learning continuity plan. Thank you.
Okay, Jamila, what is your position regarding campus security?
Thank you for that question. Everyone's trying to figure out what safety really looks like. Safety is a feeling. It's not just what you see. The district has made their decision. As a teacher, I've seen the SROs in service in our community and then in their capacity. But also as a teacher, I've seen my students feel differently, feel like they're treated differently. Equity matters. The district did not show that when they made this knee-jerk reaction without a plan. Never take without giving. The trust has been broken and it must be reestablished between the stakeholders. It's time to have those real hard conversations and make sure that our school and our campuses are still safe. We have to implement a safety plan. All students deserve to feel safe, and parents deserve a plan, and students deserve to be valued and heard. As school board trustee, I will set the direction to stop underutilizing our health department and our counselors. They are the ones to help our campuses feel safe and our students be safe. We must make our campus safe and feel safe. I'm duty bound and determined to do the right to right this ship by creating community relationships.
Okay, Estella, what is your position regarding the campus security?
So I'm on the record, ma'am, for actually saying that that decision was very myopic. So it's very short-sighted. What I have asked the board to do is to make sure that as we actually try and reopen our schools, that we have a safety plan that considers when our students are not making good decisions, for instance, when they're in crisis, that we actually have a way to support our staff and the student themselves to keep everybody safe. So that's very, very important. But above and beyond that, I believe a more systemic approach to actually addressing this is to create the ability for our schools in a community schools model, for example, to make those kinds of decisions. We have very competent, very capable administrators, staff, and teachers in each of our school sites. I think not being able to utilize them in coming up with decisions for their school and their site and their community actually is a missed opportunity. So although we are in this situation that is sad, I believe we can learn from it and we can actually take those learnings to move forward. And I'm advocating that we actually create those community schools. Thank you.
Okay, Estella, this question is for you. What should be the new priorities for Measure R funding regarding our facilities master plan?
So the Measure R specifically is for technology innovations and safety. It's so right now there is conversation happening at the CBOC, but in fact there's also other conversations that are happening here in Area 1 that I've started with many of our parents. And so the conversation is really around how do we go about making sure that safety and technology enhancements for our schools are actually also equitable. Of course, Measure R, one of the things that we were talking about are things like the very period-based design of windows in Richmond, the fact that there are no air conditioning systems. I've been hearing a lot of really great, innovative ways of addressing those issues. But the priority, of course, needs to start with safety. That is a responsibility that we have as adults for our kids. And then we can look at other things that we can actually make sure is part of that plan. Thank you.
Okay. Pamela, what should be the first priorities for the Measure R funding regarding the facilities master plan?
I think that the first priority is to bring everyone back to the table. COVID has allowed us a chance to pause, and it's allowed us a chance to reevaluate. Now that we have the opportunity that the kids are not in school for the foreseeable future right now is the time to look back at that plan and make sure that the priorities that are listed on that plan are able to be measured and implemented in this time right now. So the way that we do that is we bring labor to the table. We make sure that our CBOC is leading this, and we make sure that we also have parents and students at that table. It's a way of interfacing to where we make sure that what happens in your community and on your campus is addressed in that master plan. We have to make sure that all of us are at the table and all of us have a chance to bring into that input what we want our schools to look like, surrounded by their facilities and surrounded by safely. What do we want it to look like? Thank you.
Okay, thank you too. I will now turn you back over to Linda.
Thank you, Naomi. I like how you're doing 2 and 2. Good job. Next will be Ann Muniz, and she's going to do our last 5 questions. Ann, it's all yours.
Yes. Good morning. I'll be asking you the next set of questions. And the first question is, what programs or resources do you think the district can put in place to handle social emotional learning? Estella.
So there are a number of things that we actually can already leverage. I know that talking with parents, we have some things that are already working really well around social justice, for instance, our PBIS systems that have been adopted by many of our schools. I'm not sure if it's actually adopted across the board, but I know in District 1, several of our schools are using that model. It's really helping make sure that we've got the connection with our young folks even before. So it's a very proactive solution to social justice and to actually engaging our young folks and being seen. So that's one of the things that I think we could leverage as a best practice. The second thing is I would go back to community schools. A community school is really something where socially relevant, community-based type solution that leverages the value of the community and engages parents, teachers, staff, everybody into what we need to make sure happens in our school. That includes all the training and the learning that all of us as a group, as a community, need to do in order to support our students. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jamila, what programs or resources do you think the district can put in place to handle social emotional learning?
I think the first thing that the district has to recognize is the same thing that us as parents and teachers recognize. We recognize that the kids are sitting in trauma. The whole nation, the whole globe is sitting in trauma. So what we have to do is stop, reimagine, and then implement programs and practices that help with that trauma healing. That's the first thing. A child cannot learn if they are preoccupied with the trauma that they're expressing in their bones. So social emotional learning has to come from those who are already charged with and have the professionalism behind treating trauma. We have those people in our district already. We need to let them take the lead. Let their voices be the loudest one at the table. They will tell us what we need to do to help our children heal. So as your school board trustee, the biggest thing I can do is listen. I listen, then I learn, and then I'm able to lead. So I will listen to our school psychologists. I will listen to our counselors. I will listen to our climate team. I will listen to our parents, and I will listen to our students. And then we move into that healing realm. Thank you.
And Jamila, I'd like you to take the next question as well. How should the district address the issue of co-locations with charter schools?
Thank you so much. Charter schools are here. And what we have to do is learn how to be good neighbors. We have got to learn how to be good neighbors. And that means that we hold everyone accountable and everyone with open transparency. We need to make sure that all of our children, all 32,127 are served. We have to make sure that all of our students are meeting their needs are being met with equitable education. So cohabitation of a campus requires being able to have and make and maintain relationships. You have to be able to talk to each other for the best interest of the children. The children are at the center of every decision that we make. And that means whether we're public school or charter school, we have to keep the children at the center. And we have to have some hard conversations, and we have to make some strong decisions. It is not, I am a public school teacher, and I'm a public school advocate, but I'm also with the clear understanding that we have to have a good neighbor policy.
Thank you. Estella, the same question. How should the district address the issue of co-locations with charter schools?
So charter schools, public charter schools are here to stay, as Jamila said. Recently, though, the CTA, the California Teachers Association, actually came up with I guess I would say, a restated position on charter schools. So, especially because of the 4 new bills that our state has actually enacted, what it does is it actually provides our school district and, me as the board trustee, more areas of actually looking for accountability for their the outcomes that they deliver, the learning that we are actually getting for our students, together with how they treat their staff, because there's also a lot of public charter schools whose staff is actually getting into the unions at this point. So I believe we start with accountability. We also move into partnership, but it always goes back to the data that we need to make sure we're relying on. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question is, how will you address the digital divide in our district? Estella, you can take this question as well.
Thank you, ma'am. So the Digital Divide project, I've actually been hearing a lot about this, and it's not just, specific to our district, of course. It's been something that is a challenge, especially in areas where there are a lot of issues around poverty and around inequity. So I actually look at the digital divide project that's being proposed in the district right now as an equity issue. If you're actually looking at our map of who does not have access for distance learning, you would see a lot of concentration in the southern part of our district. That clearly is one of those things that we need to make sure we're using with an equity lens. And perhaps some of the things that are happening right now with our CDOC and our master plan is looking at that as well. It's one of those things that I believe, because we are charged with making sure that these young minds are getting the education that is their right, we need to address those issues and create a way for us to come up with solutions that work best. Right now, I applaud our technology department for coming up with some great solutions, but those need to become more permanent than what we've got at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jamila, the same question for you. How will you address the digital divide in our district?
That's a good question. The digital divide is not just about equality, it's equity. We're a one-to-one district, so everyone has a tablet, but if you have it and you can't access it because you don't have access to the internet, or you don't have the people at home who are able to help you troubleshoot, then that becomes an equity issue. So what I want to make sure that is understood is equality and equity are two different things. It's called a divide for a reason. The division comes from the equity issue. Are all kids able to access the same materials that are given to every student in the district? For us to understand that, we have to ask the question. We have to get down and drill down and ask the question. Do you know how to turn your tablet on? Do you have someone there who could help you? Do you know how to troubleshoot? As grown-ups, we're having to do that. We're having to teach each other. We're having to rely on those people who know more than us, those young people that know more than us. It's time for us to take the people who know the most and put them in positions of leadership. It's time to take the people who know the most and can help solve the problems and let their voices be the loudest one at the table. As school board trustee, that's what I would do. I'm humble enough to say, help me so I can help you.
Thank you. Estella, what is your position regarding approving more charter schools in our district?
Oh, so this is really a complicated question for me. I've talked to many parents about this, and as a parent of a student with special needs, I know what it means for parents to try and navigate a system that's not meant to serve you, because you are on the margins, the fighting, the negotiating, the pushing that you and the struggle that you just need to do in order to actually get the education that is yours. Your student, your child's right is really a challenge. And so therefore my take on charter schools is that we need to have a conversation. If, for example, a number of parents have come together and are dedicated and are fully committed to the long haul that they would need to put in place in order to have the programs and the services that is for their students, I think we need to acknowledge that, and I think we need to listen. I am not comfortable, and I will not take on saying no to something like that for our community. Thank you.
And the same question for you, Jamila. What is your position regarding approving more charter schools in our district?
No. That's a simple question, but I can give you the longer version. The longer version is I want to stop the bleeding of the impact to our budget that charter schools have. Right now, before you approve a charter school, you have the right to look at the impact that it would have on your district budget. The impact on our district budget would be detrimental and continue to be detrimental. However, I am not arrogant enough to tell a parent where they should send their child, but I'm smart enough to ask, why are you sending them there? And then I'm gonna listen and bring that back here, because I want every parent that had the opportunity to take their child to a charter school to have that in place at a public school. So you took them there for safety, let me make sure we have safety here. You took them there for extra programs, I got those programs over here. That's what I would do with the charter school question. I will ask those parents why, and then I will put that answer into our public schools.
Thank you. And this is the last question, and it's rather lengthy, so I can read it more than once if you like. Estella will go first, and the question is, the West County Mandarin School serves students from across the district. The school has outgrown its current site at the Sarah campus in Richmond and is slated to move to the temporary portable campus at Portela in El Cerrito. Families have requested that we move instead to the abandoned Adams, which is blocks away from Sarah, and put portables there. Would you support the financial investment to have the school move to Adams? Why or why not? Estella?
I think that we have to be really careful about that question, because Adams actually was condemned many years ago because of seismic issues. So I actually have had conversations with folks from the Mandarin School about this as well, and was involved in a number of conversations. There was actually a board proposal about this too. So I believe that the more prudent step is to actually allow the Mandarin school families to move to Portola, because moving them in Adams, when we know that this is actually an earthquake area and that particular site is sitting on a fault line, is too much of a risk for us to take. I know the convenience, and I know that it's easier for them because they're right across the street from Sarah to Adams. It's only a couple of blocks. It really makes sense. But I think what would make more sense is if we actually move them to Portola for now, similar to what we did with Wilson, by the way. The Wilson school also got moved in order to make sure that we actually have the place for them to thrive and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jamila, I'll repeat the question. The West County Mandarin School serves students from across the district. The school has outgrown its current site at the Sarah campus in Richmond and is slated to move to the temporary portable campus at Portela in El Cerrito. Families have requested that we move instead to the abandoned Adams, which is blocks away from Sarah, and put portables there. Would you support the financial investment to have the school move to Adams? Why or why not?
As school board trustee, I'm one of 5 votes. So what I understand is that I need to be able to listen at a 360-degree level about everything. But for me, safety is paramount. I have to be able to cast my vote for the safety of the children. But what I also have to be able to do is have policies and programs in place to help the families. So if there's an issue with getting to another campus, I want to work to solve that issue. I want to make sure that you have the ability. There's childcare there. There's transportation issues, that we are all working together to make sure that your child is not only educated, but they're educated in a safe environment. That's part of equity, and that's part of sustainability. So again, as your school board trustee, I listen. I understand what the families are saying, and I can, with strong leadership, tell you, I hear you, I understand you, I may not agree with you, but your children will remain safe under my leadership. And then I will help you solve the problems, that inconvenience that may occur from that safety issue. But your babies are going to be safe under me. Once again, my name is Jamila Smith-Folds. I have been in this for over 15 years. I'm a server. It's who I am, and it's what I do. I will take your voice to the board. I hold the #1 value every teacher should have. I'm teachable. I am humbly asking for voters to vote me in for change. This is a movement, not a moment. I bring with me classroom experience, parent navigational skills, and community-centered mindset. When you get me, you get the good trouble. When my mouth opens, you get to hear your voice. I am passionate about you and your children. You have enough to worry about as a parent, a teacher, a student, and a community member. My shoulders are broad and my commitment is documented. Let me lighten your load. Your seat at the table is ready for you. But if you can't be there every time, if you can't pick up the phone every time the district calls, if you can't show up every time you're asked, no, I'll be there for you. I will be there for you, and I will be there because of you. I want to take just 1 minute to thank all of those who have endorsed me and supported my journey for your school board trustee. Thank you to my current and to my former teachers and staff at WCCUSD. Thank you to the UTR, to the Teamsters 856, to the IBEW, to the Contra Costa Label Council, to the Building Trades, the Young Dems, the West Dems, the Democratic Party of Contra Costa, the DPCCC, and the California Democratic Party and Pinole for Fair Government. Thank you for the trust. Thank you, Supervisor Federal Glover. Thank you, School Board Trustee Mr. Phillips. Thank you, Mayor Tom Butt, Pinole City Council members, and the City Council member in Hercules. Thank you for the trust. I want to stand on those shoulders at the school board. I want to make sure that I'm taking everybody's voice to the board, the historically marginalized student population, and the parents and the family and the community. So please, by November the 3rd, vote Jamila Smith-Folds for School Board Trustee Area 1. Thank you. And I'm sorry if I went over, Ms. Linda. I did not see the clock, so I just went on and took advantage of it.
Well, no, hey, I didn't see the clock either, so, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to have Estella for your summary.
Thank you, Ms. Linda. I'm a local. I grew up in the Hercules and Pinole community. I've seen this community become what it is. I want us to be in this journey together. My promise to you, our community, is that I will continue to share information that I continue to get as a candidate. I will post them on Estella for Education Facebook. I already have a next door page called WCCUSD Budget Accountability Forum. Rather lengthy, I know, but you'll find it on the next door, I hope. And I also send out regular updates on things that I'm learning about being a candidate, about our district, because it is a big district. And there are varying and differing types of needs from what's happening in the southern part of our district and what's happening in our northern part of our district. I'm asking for you to engage with me in this journey. I want us to learn together because we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. And having those contexts, that relationship and thus trust is very, very important for me. We have 32,000 young people whose education is on the line. One of them is my son, who's actually a senior this year. I think Area 1 needs a representative who can hit the ground running. And with my previous experience as a leader, an organizational leader on the business side, both in informational systems and in technology services, I can actually and have the skills and the capability to fix many of these issues. We have a lot of them. We need a steady, experienced hand to lead us through the balancing of the budget, communicating to all stakeholders, managing risks that are in front of us. What we need is a well thought out and decisive choice. I have the organizational skills and the leadership experience. I believe I'm the candidate that can effectively represent Area 1. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope I've earned your trust. Please look for Estella De Paz in the November ballot. Thank you. Salamat po.
Thank you very much.